Our reporter Mzwandile joins us now from Gaborone. Mzwandile, thank you so much for joining us. President Jacob Zuma is in Botswana to attend the Binational Commission with his counterpart Ian Khama. Did they manage to deal with their business with the Zim crisis in the spotlight?
Thank you very much, Lulu. Maybe just a bit of a correction. The president is now back in South Africa. He was here in Botswana to attend the Binational Commission, as you have said. And indeed, they discussed a range of issues relating to economic cooperation between these two countries. But of course, the issue of their neighbor, which is Zimbabwe, wouldn't escape their attention. As a result, they spoke about it during what they call a tete-a-tete, when the two presidents met face-to-face, just the two of them. So they discussed this issue. It's quite important for them to discuss the issue of Zimbabwe, because whatever happens in Zimbabwe impacts on South Africa and Botswana by and large. So they came up with a statement that was very clear, particularly from the SADC chair, to say whatever is happening, the peace and stability must not be compromised, because if that happens, it will not only affect Zimbabwe, but it will affect the entire region. And of course, the president of Botswana said he would like to see the Zimbabwean question resolved as soon as possible.
Mzwandile, in terms of the resolution of the Zimbabwe crisis, what was put forward with regards to what needs to happen? And having seen some parliamentary members from Zimbabwe in the SADC Troika meeting and lashing out at SADC and the leadership with regards to resolving the issues in Zimbabwe, what exactly the situation there? What is the reaction from that?
Lulu, you'd remember that as soon as the Zimbabwean situation unfolded, the chairperson of SADC, President Jacob Zuma, sent two envoys to Zimbabwe, basically on a fact-finding mission, so that they could be able to report back to him. So as the chair of SADC, he is able to take an informed decision. We believe that that engagement should have happened today, because they returned today, and then the president returned today from Botswana. So we understand that that meeting may have happened, and then the president now is in a much better position perhaps to brief his colleagues in the region as to what will happen. I can add, Lulu, that on Monday President Zuma continues with this consultation process. He meets the president of Angola, who is the chairperson of the SADC Troika. So this is part of engaging all the stakeholders to make sure that this issue of Zimbabwe is resolved. And yesterday, when the SADC Troika meeting happened at the level of ministers, there was a recommendation that perhaps they would need an urgent extraordinary summit to be convened as soon as possible. And that summit will then enable them to be able to deal with a variety of issues, because the issue of Zimbabwe is quite unique. As much as you're looking at it as a coup, but how do you then describe the fact that today President Mugabe was able to discharge his responsibilities as head of state? So you need really proper information to be able to process it, so that when you tackle this issue, you tackle it from an informed point of view.
Mzwandile, let's speak about the fact that Botswana's President Ian Khama is stepping down as president in March next year, while looking at Zimbabwe and President Robert Mugabe having been in power for the last 37 years. What can you say with regards to this and the differences when it comes to the different countries and the different presidencies?
Maybe we would need to look at a few issues when we compare at Botswana and Zimbabwe, for example. You'd remember that the Zimbabwean constitution never had term limits. You remember, it was modeled along the British constitution. So that is why President Mugabe was in power for that long time. So during his reign, not that he was perhaps violating the constitution then, is that they did not have term limits. It's a different case here in Botswana. They have a 2-term limit. So President Khama in March, so he's finishing that 2nd term. So you can't necessarily compare the two. I think it's only the later constitution of Zimbabwe that talks of the issue of term limits. But before that, they had modeled it along the British constitution where there are no term limits.
Mzwandile, thank you so much for joining us. We'll have to leave it there for now. That was our reporter Mzwandile Mbeje joining us live from Gaborone in Botswana.